Professor McElwain.
Thank you, Dean. Good evening. Imagine, for a moment, that you're at the palace of Indra, the Vedic ruler of the heavens and king of the gods. There you see a magnificent hanging net that stretches infinitely in all directions. You also see that there are sparkling jewels affixed at the nodes or crossings of the net. Being a curious student, you journey upward to examine this amazing net. Once you are close enough to examine the jewels, you notice that each particular jewel is reflecting the other nearby jewels. You start to follow the various trails of reflections, and slowly you realize that each jewel, by virtue of its reflective nature, is not only reflecting its neighboring jewels, but also the entire network of jewels. You ultimately reach a somewhat startling conclusion. Each jewel reflects the entirety of jewels in Indra's net. When you look at one jewel, you can see the entire network of jewels, and that jewel can also be seen throughout the entire network. This religious metaphor has been used in a number of ways, some of which may very well make your heads explode at this early juncture in your career, so I'll avoid the deeper intricacies of Hawaiian Buddhist metaphysics. The versatile image has been used in various contexts to refer to everything from webs of relations and ecosystems to what I can only refer to as some really weird stuff in quantum mechanics. I am using Indra's net here to draw out some insights on our general theme for the evening, community, specifically the interdependent and relational aspects of community. So welcome to the College of Idaho net, if you will. Like Indra's jewels, you are firmly bound to our community. Each of you reflects the entire community, and the entire community reflects you. We are all inescapably parts of one another, which is really a profound insight. We are not only dependent upon each other, but we actually make each other. Now, this may all seem quite obvious to some, but Indra's net calls into question some of the fundamental assumptions that we often carry with us. I grew up outside of Dallas, Texas, and yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I deeply apologize. It's kind of its own punishment, so don't worry. Overall, it's pretty safe to say that a rugged individualism resonates throughout Texas. Those of you who are from Idaho may perhaps understand where I'm coming from here. And if you're like me, there's a chance that you may have absorbed the idea that we are all quite independent of each other, that we can make it on our own and would kindly prefer that no one interferes with our lives. This is all quite understandable, but it overlooks the message from Indra's net, which is that no jewel exists in isolation. Each jewel is influenced by its various connections and relations. Independence gives way to interdependence. The take-home point that I encourage you to keep in mind over the next 4 years is that your place in the net is really unavoidable. You're in it, and that's a good thing. But if a jewel becomes chipped or smudged or is removed, it affects the entire community. Likewise, it affects the entire community if a jewel is clear and shining bright like a diamond, to steal from Rihanna. Just 1 second, students. She's a pop singer. So good. In other words, and at the danger of being repetitive, the net works both ways. The community is making you, and you are also making the community. The question here is, what will you make it? Now that might have sounded like the grand finale, but it's not over yet. Before closing, I'd like to set aside Indra's net and briefly focus on 2 particular elements of our academic community: contribution and challenge. First, contribution. As wonderful as you are, as much as we value each and every one of you, I encourage you to think beyond just being present. Presence is really the base component of being in community. When I interview students for scholarships, I'll often ask a very simple yet difficult question. What do you contribute in and out of the classroom? I'll usually follow with, what will people say about you? Or what would you like people to say about you? There are many ways to answer these questions and to contribute, which will no doubt vary for each of you. But whatever it is, please bring it, both in and out of the classroom. The question here is, how will you contribute? Next, challenge. College is challenging, and not just for the reasons you might think. Yes, there's a challenge of coursework, which is quite substantial. But this is just one of the challenging components. You will experience the challenge of community, or living amongst other people. You will encounter new personalities, ideas, beliefs, styles, situations, dilemmas, and frisbee golfers. You will also realize that we are a community of challenge, fundamentally built upon the liberal arts notion of challenging students to become not only great rounded thinkers, but also great rounded people. Your faculty holds itself to high standards in this regard, and because of this, you can expect to be challenged, both in and out of the classroom. The question here is, how you respond to the challenge. All right, now for the grand finale. How you contribute and how you respond to the challenge are vital to this college. To bring back Indra's net, each of you reflects the entire community, and the entire community reflects you. What will the College of Idaho look like in 4 years? What will you look like in 4 years? Indra's net tells us that these questions are more closely related than you may think. So shine bright. You are why we're here. Thank you.